Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Generation Freedom Podcast. Welcome back to the Generation Freedom Podcast. I have not been here all year, and I thought it was time that we at least close out the year with one episode. I'm Nadie. I'm your host. I'm a therapist and wellness coach and the clinical director at Freedom Psychotherapy and Wellness Services. And today I wanted to talk about the year ahead, talk about the lessons that this year has taught me, and discuss how we can build on what we've learned and what we want to bring into 2025. So if you're tuning in, I'm hoping chances are that you are also reflecting on this year and where you've been and where you want to go. So I want to talk about some personal stories of my own, and I want to plan this year together. So sit back, grab your cup of tea. I'm only drinking water today. And let's set a clear vision for the next chapter. And maybe I can help you spark a few ideas for your journey. So let's dive on in. So I wanted to start the year off by looking at how the year has shaped us, me individually, and as well as collectively. And many of us faced these challenges this year, lots of challenges, celebrated wins, of course, and we experienced moments of revelation. For me, the year has been a blend of all three, but heavy on the challenges. So I'm someone who actually likes to set goals. I love to write them all down. I like to categorize them. I like to write down steps to accomplish each goal. And my different categories typically include personal goals and business goals and hobby things, creative goals, spiritual goals. I tend to categorize in all different kinds of ways. And I definitely believe that writing something down, naming it, whether it's aspirations, goals, whatever they may be, makes them very real and very tangible, and a lot of times less intimidating once you sketch it all out and you know what steps you want to take. So, but at the same time, setting goals also means dealing with change and scary new things. So change, as we all know, can be, while fun, and exhilarating at times, it can be extremely daunting. We get set in our, in our comfort zones, and it's hard to step out of that sometimes. So even when we know that, something could be great coming down the horizon, fear can often creep in, and we find ourselves clinging to the present because it just feels safer than stepping into the unknown, right? So I know that that can happen. So I want to go over all of that with you today and see maybe if we can push each other, hold each other accountable, and to accomplish what we want to accomplish and move through the fear. I think that maybe a beautiful 2025 could be out there for us. One thing I did want to share is that recently I experienced a really emotional event. I experienced a few emotional events, tough events in my life this year, but the most recent thing that happened was my grandmother passed away. My dad's mom passed away on the 19th of December, and we laid her to rest on the 30th yesterday, the 30th of December, 2024. And her funeral actually took place in the church that I grew up in. And the as soon as I stepped inside, it was like going back in time. Honestly, all the people that I grew up around, you know, the building itself, being in the sanctuary, it just really took me back to when, faith and music and community was, my whole world. Black church, right? Like it was everything. And the songs that we sang, the sermon that was delivered by my grandmother's brother, he was the pastor at the time when I grew up. So it was just it was really wild, just kind of being back there again and feeling all those old feelings and feeling her presence there. It was really, really warm and familiar, and it was really nice to be there and to have everybody there, and my whole family being there as well. So it was really, really nice and beautiful, even though it was extremely sad, but it was the perfect way to send her home. some of the things that I realized, or some of the things that I noticed while I was there, this place was, where I believed in the power of God and the Holy Spirit. And my grandmother, we called her Nanny's giving nature, and like people that spoke about her, reminded me that because she was such a giver, it was all about giving without question. It wasn't something she seemed to think about. It was just something that she did and something that she was drawn to. She started the Angel Tree program at our church, for example, which is a program. If you guys are familiar, it's a program to give gifts at Christmas time to kids in need, kids that may not have the opportunity to receive gifts at Christmas without the help. And she started that program at our church, and it's just like, it was something she was so passionate about. She always organized it every year. And that's just like an example. It's just something that she was just drawn to. Nobody asked her to do that. It was always just in her to be giving and open her home to people, adults, kids, everyone alike. So it was amazing to, get reminded of those stories and hear those things about her. And it was just really who she was, just an open-hearted person. And she always made people feel cared for and welcome and loved. And she just always had that kindness. And so even though it was, painful and a painful goodbye, I realized something important. The foundation that she built for our family is really the same foundation that I tend to live by, kind of unbeknownst to me, right? In my work today, and kind of how I try to live with my friendships, and what I try to live by in my life as a whole. As a therapist, I'm driven to some of those same ideals, of helping, supporting, nurturing others, just similar to the way she did, in her own ways. And a funeral, it's a homegoing, right? It's not always about saying goodbye. It's supposed to be this reminder of who the person was, who we are at our core, the legacies we passed on. Um, and for her, it was like faith, kindness, resilience. She was adamant in her instructions that she wanted church at her funeral. She wanted church. She didn't want a whole bunch of people standing up and saying all these things about her. We only had a few people on the program to speak. None of the kids spoke, none of the grandkids spoke. It was just a few people she wanted to speak. And ultimately, she just wanted church. She wanted a full sermon, and that's what she got. And sitting in that church, it just felt closer, to my roots again, reminded me of my love of music and where that even came from, because she used to sing. My uncle that got up there, her brother, when he preached, he used to always sing. His daughter, my cousin, she got up and sang. She always sang growing up. She was like the choir director at our church, and she did her good singing at this funeral yesterday. She did her good singing. I was like, girl, did you do your breathing exercises? Because you did some voice exercises today, because you sang, and it was so good. And it just brought me back to like my own purpose and who I am as a person. And I remember why I do what I do. And it inspired me to sit down and record today, even inspired me to write the newsletter that I decided to write today. Inspired me to write the newsletter that I wrote today. Um, and I just remember why I do what I do, to help people heal, to help people grow, um, help people to thrive in their lives. And, in those moments that day, I just understood that her spirit of giving, lives on in me. Um, and every time I hold space for someone else's healing. And that was really beautiful to reflect on. So through over the course of this last week or so, maybe last 2 weeks, into the year, I look forward to, the new year, and, what I want to accomplish. And now today, I've been thinking about it for the last few days, but now I kind of have this new sense of what I want my goals to look like, and having this legacy with me. And it's fueling I think, some pretty ambitious, plans for freedom, as well as, my own personal projects. So I want to share a few of those with you. And as you, listen to me, I'd love for you to reflect as well on, what your foundations are, what your values are, what's the legacy that you are trying to leave behind as well. Oh, and before I share those, I'll say one more thing about the services is that one thing that my uncle preached about was, tomorrow is not promised. And not only is it not promised, if there's things that we want to do, things that we want to accomplish, if there's a type of person we want to be, we need to do it now. Get up and do it now. And so that's also part of like the inspiration. His message as well is ringing in my head, and I think it will for the coming weeks. Of it really is about doing it now. There is no time. There's You just never know. I may not make it out of this house right now when I leave today. I may not make it to tomorrow, a week from now, or whatever, or somebody else that I could touch, or someone else that I know. Is the same. So you have to do and be who you want to be now, and not wait and wait and wait, because you just may not get that chance to, if you push it off. So that's the other thing that's kind of really overarching the ideas and the goals that I have for this year. So, like I said, think about your goals as you listen to mine. I just have a few that I wanted to mention. Like I said, they're all kinds of categories and stuff, but these are just a few that I wanted to talk about. The first thing that I am focusing on for next year is growing my practice a little more. I'm transitioning some of my contractors into employees, and that's a really big feat and venture. A lot of moving parts involved with doing that, with legally, and making sure everyone has what they need, and changing a lot of the structure in the business. So it's really exciting, very scary step, but it feels like the right thing to do and the right time to do it. I think it'll help us be a little more consistent, as well as improve the continuity of care for our clients, and just build a stronger team dynamic altogether, which I think community was the big word for me in 2024. And community is going to remain important in 2025. And having a solid team, I think, is a part of the community aspect that I want to build in my life going forward. Another thing in the business that I really want to do is love the music and sound effects on my podcast. They're all from Epidemic Sound. With over 50,000 tracks and 200,000 sound effects, you'll find exactly what you need to bring your content to life. Plus, no copyright headaches, just worry-free creativity. Try it out today with a free 7-day trial and see why creators worldwide swear by it. Click the affiliate link in the show notes and start using Epidemic Sound today. Is get more consistent and go harder on organic marketing, like podcasting, newsletter, social media, things that are kind of, free to do. And it just takes, my time and energy, but not necessarily, it doesn't cost money, but they are strategies that really work and that I happen to enjoy. I just have to find the time and schedule myself in that way. So I want to show up a lot more here on this podcast for you. I want to show up in our newsletter. There's just a lot of valuable information about mental health and self-care and holistic wellness and all these kinds of things that I'm excited to share. And I know many of you have been craving that like getting into holistic ways to take care of yourself and take care of your loved ones. And I know we're also craving more consistent updates. I know we're also craving that. So I want to provide that and really pour energy into being here and showing up for you, as well as myself and the practice. So the third thing I want to do is more workshops, more events for y'all, healing circles, hosting things. I think I am a host by nature, and I have this vision for the year that includes hosting more in-person things, virtual gatherings, whatever they may be. But I want to, tackle more relaxation, tackle more anxiety healing and prevention and stress reduction, stress elimination things, or even just like healing circles where we can journal together and do some sound bowls for you guys and just have like a space, those kinds of spaces made available to you more and more often, where we can learn from each other and again come together in, say it with me, community. So I'm really determined to create those spaces. What's going to help propel me to do those first three things is I really have to stop shying away and running from selling and, hosting these things and asking for people to buy into these events and things that I want to host. So this one's really, really big. I struggle with putting myself out there in a way that is me asking for something. Like, I don't mind putting myself out there. I don't mind being on the internet. I don't mind my face being online. I don't mind people hearing my voice. But when it comes to asking for money or asking, selling something to you and requesting money from you, basically, and promoting something, I'm just realizing that my fear of selling is actually stopping me from service and serving those who could benefit from what I have to offer. And I gotta stop. I gotta stop. It's enough is enough. You know what I'm saying? Enough is enough. So I really, that's a big thing for me. I want to be able to promote a workshop, if and set a fair price. There's nothing wrong with that. People buy things, like, hashtag capitalism, but people buy things at the end of the day. And especially if I'm offering you something really beautiful and helpful and service in return, it's really not a bad thing. And it's my job to stop thinking of it in that way. Because to me, I think the barrier has been, it's one thing for people to come to me, people, schedule consultations and things like that. It's one thing for people to come to me and request my services. It's a different thing for me to ask you, to ask you to buy a service instead of you coming to me for it. And both are fine. And at the end of the day, both are fine. So if you resonate with that, maybe next year is also your time to step out of fear and offer your gifts to the world, because people do need them. And we can't be afraid to ask folks to show up for themselves and exchange energy. And sometimes that energy exchange is money for service. And that's just what it is. And that's okay. It's not a bad thing. And, so if you're with that, holla at me, let me know. We can do this together. We can do this. And then the last thing for business goals that I want to talk about is just like building the foundations and more systems in my practice. So, like I said, I want to transition some of my contractors into employees, and that takes a lot of kind of strategic planning, and we have to have systems in place. We have to have employee handbook and rules and just things, payroll, just all kinds of like back end things. So I definitely want to make sure I am tightening up on the systems and even the funnels, marketing funnels, all those different systems running in the background of my business, making sure that they are running smoothly, and just paying more attention to them and tweaking them, throughout the year to make them better and better and better. Because I think when the back end of things are organized, it really frees me up to do more of what I love and help more people on their wellness journeys, and be a better leader, and even be a better friend and family member, because I won't always have to be working on a break or working on the weekend or on vacation, because everything's kind of running smoothly and running itself, and I can just check in on it versus having to be in there doing everything by hand, right? So those are some big things I really want to accomplish in the year ahead with my business. And it's funny because I went to my Reiki practitioner this week as well to do like a year ahead reading, and the message that I got, I think, was very clear. I just need to keep going. I need to keep pushing. I need to not be afraid. I'm on the right path. Like, the universe is in alignment with me and what I am seeking in my life. So it's cool to have gotten that kind of outside confirmation. And so it's also helping boost my confidence and just keep going. You got it. You got the goals, write them down, and put one foot in front of the other. So I hope that was helpful. That's kind of where my journey is right now. One of the losses that I experienced in some of my plans, but definitely want to turn the mic over to you. Think about how you're wrapping up your year, what dreams, what projects are you holding in your heart for 2024? Whether that's a new career path or launching a business or side hustle, maybe you have family goals or, things you want to renovate your home, whatever the case may be. Maybe you are making a change personally, or maybe you just want to commit to a consistent self-care journey, right? Which is what I'm here for. So I want you to ask yourself a few things. If you haven't come up with any goals, or maybe you're feeling a little overwhelmed, or maybe you're just feeling kind of stuck in between, I have a few questions I want you to write down and think about the answers to. One, what feels important to me right now? What comes up for you when you think about what is important to me right now in this moment, in this year? Like I said, for me, helping people, um, living that legacy, community, those are kind of some of the things that jump out to me for my personal things. The second question is, what changes am I ready to make? Even if they scare me. Or maybe the question is, what changes do I want to make? Maybe you're not ready in this moment, but what changes do you want to make, even the scary ones? What do you want to do? Think about that as well. And maybe that can inform a little baby step or two that you're willing to take. And then lastly, how can I honor the legacy of those who came before me? My ancestors, my family, my mentors, role models I've seen, role models who've passed on some wisdom to me, or strength or something like that. How can I honor that legacy? Because that one's coming up for me as well, with what we just went through as a family. I definitely want to honor my grandmother's legacy of love and helping others and kindness. And I really want to lean into that. So I encourage you to think about what you want to lean into and really take a couple moments to reflect on that, or jot down some answers. If you can make yourself a cozy spot on the couch and get your journal out, I encourage you to do so. And I am excited for these plans for next year, obviously, enough to share them and put them out there and ask you to hold me accountable. One last thing that I will say about it is, thinking about the podcast itself, here, this space that we share for next year, there's some things that I want to talk about. And I definitely want you to get down in the comments of wherever you're listening to this and tell me a little bit about what kinds of topics you think would be important for you, especially after you reflect on your goals. Maybe there's something that I can help with, but these are some of the things that I was thinking about. Non-negotiable self-cares. There's some days that we can't do every single thing that's on our to-do list when it comes to taking care of ourselves, but I really want to think about what are the non-negotiables, what are the must-dos. So if I can't do everything on my list, what do I absolutely have to do, and kind of how to determine that. Explore some of those daily practices that really keep you grounded, even at the most minimal level. I think that's super important, because shit be getting out of hand, okay? But there's some things that really serve us if we just do that one thing or these two things, and that can be enough to really get us through. So I definitely want to dive into that a little more. I definitely want to have guests back on the show. I met some amazing people this year. Oh my gosh. In 2024, I met some really, really awesome people that I really want to get on the show for you to hear their insights and the work that they do. Also, some of them as people are really, really awesome. They do such cool things, and in the ways that they pour into themselves, I think you guys will be very inspired by. So that's a big one. We got to get some of these new friends and homies on the show for y'all, because I think you're gonna love them. You're gonna love their insights, and you're gonna want to follow them and follow their journeys. So you're gonna want to participate in some of their offerings, retreats, and things like that. Oh my God, I didn't even mention the retreat, but some of y'all know already. 2025 is a retreat year, so we'll get into that maybe on another episode. We'll go a little deeper into that. That's a specific goal that I have, to host another retreat for you guys, because I love, again, she's a host, I love to do it. Also think maybe more business content would be interesting, entrepreneurial content. I think that could be really interesting, to talk more about, like, this idea of like confidence with selling myself, selling my ideas, the things that I do every day. Number one, as an entrepreneur, as a therapist entrepreneur that runs a private practice, works from home, or, kind of 50-50. We have an office now. Fun fact, we're in person. So now we have more options. So I wonder if it would be interesting to you guys to hear more of the behind the scenes, the BTS of my own entrepreneurial journey, and not just sort of the self-care specific content, but like maybe even how I take care of myself as a business owner, like a full-time business owner. Like I have a W-2, but it's a W-2 for my own practice. You know what I'm saying? Like there's no W-9 or 1099 contractor. I don't have that. So this is a very specific type of life that I'm living. So I don't know. That could be interesting as well. I want to do more meditations, of course. I definitely want to record meditations for you guys, and even maybe some private ones as well to send to, those that opt in to that and want, sort of regular meditations to listen to, or want scripts for themselves. Those kinds of things I think could be really helpful, or even like sound healing recordings, and, play sound bowls for you guys. I'd love to do that more often. And I also really like weird shit. So that's another thing that I would be interested in adding more to the podcast, and give y'all some more ASMR. You feel me? And, some more chaotic days like the matcha chaos and lip gloss episode, and just kind of like shed some light on the nonsense and chaos that is me. So I think that could be fun as well. So those are some of the ideas that I have in mind to share more about. And I can't wait to, really get into it for 2025. Just be there for y'all, and be there for y'all on a regular basis. Cause I'm always here. I'm always available to you guys. Whoever wants to reach out, shoot me an email. I'm always around, but I want to be here more visibly, so that, if you need me, call me, hit me up. If I feel like talking to you, I will. So hit me up. So hopefully we can get just more meaningful conversations, more guests, maybe even some challenges. I also thought about that. So there's just all kinds of things that I'd love to do for y'all. I think those are the things. I appreciate you being here, listening, holding space for me and my mind as we close out the year. Definitely, like I said, reflect on what's next for you, and please stay connected. Like I said, you can always shoot me an email at any time if you have goals, questions, things you want me to talk about. You can always hit reply to a newsletter. You can always leave a comment on the podcast, or you can DM me directly at Black Therapist. You can also message us on the practice page at Freedom Therapy on Instagram as well. We love hearing from you, and we're happy to address any of your thoughts in a future episode. And definitely subscribe to the newsletter. I've been talking about the newsletter, but if you're not subscribed, you should subscribe. Like get the updates, know about the events that I will be mentioning and I will be talking about, and get notified of new podcast episodes and all the self-care tips, all the holistic tips, all the day-to-day things that I give, all the goofy, funny things that I like to share on the journey. Subscribe to our newsletter. If you are not, I will leave links down below to the social medias, Instagrams, email, as well as the newsletter. I'll leave all that. So whatever medium of choice, but I highly recommend the newsletter. I think that's the best place. It's the most intimate, and you get the most from me compared to what I share on social media. So please come on over. No matter how big or small your goals are, I want to hear about them. No matter how big or small your questions, there are no stupid questions. Feel free to reach out. My email, my inbox is open. And to be honest, and just to let you know, like goals wise, like, we don't have to wait for the perfect moment. Keep that in mind. We do not have to wait for perfection. There's no such thing. It can be messy to start. And I'm telling myself this too. This is for all of us. This is for me and you. You can start messy. You can start scared. You can start small, but just start, or just continue. Maybe you started already, but you can pick it back up. It doesn't have to be in the perfect place for you to pick it up. So pick it back up, start again, continue, whatever makes sense. It applies to where you're at, whatever makes sense in your context. So thanks so much for joining me. Thanks for holding the space, allowing me to reflect with you today. I hope that sharing Nanny's legacy with y'all and my plans for the year, and this perspective that I'm trying to embrace has sparked some ideas for yourself. And until next time, stay open-minded and be kind to one another. I'll see you soon.